Hey guys, how's it going? So this is my update video for the, well, it's a vaccine update video. So my first video was this, paused on a stupid face. Let me go somewhere else so we're not looking at that too long. It's a little better. I'm wearing the same kind of shirt, but this one's gray. I have a few of these polos. Wearing the same blue light filter glasses, but this time I got a, well, I have a screen dedicated to showing some things on websites and stuff, just so I can sort of show you guys what I'm talking about a little bit more. Let me pull up this light here. I turn on, I use a second screen, or a third screen I should say, sometimes just to display a little light on my face. There we go, that's a little better. Hey, so this is a video I titled Vaccine Regret, Why I Regret Getting My Vaccine. And I regretted getting my vaccine, if you haven't seen the video, because about 2 weeks after my vaccine I started experiencing some extreme dizziness, and I've never had such things happen before. And really the only conclusion that you can come to is that I'm experiencing extreme dizziness due to some coincidence that has nothing to do with the vaccine 2 weeks after I got it, or because of the vaccine, both of which are unlikely. It's unlikely to have a coincidence like that, but it's also unlikely to have some of the symptoms that I'm having. A lot of the doctors that I've talked to have said that it's either not the vaccine or it very well might be the vaccine. And then there's a ton of stuff on forums online of people basically expressing the same kind of thing that I'm expressing. And a couple of other things that also said that it's very possible that you're having an inflammatory response that may be affecting inner ear balance and causing vertigo-like issues because of that. So these are all possibilities I'm open to, but the thing is that doctors have different opinions on what they think is or isn't the cause. Some think it could be. Some just stand by the fact that the vaccine is somewhat not tested and we don't know too much about the effects. Some say it's impossible, and some say that that's actually possible, that it could be an inner ear inflammatory thing. But there's not really like a practical way to test for such things. And regardless of whatever the reason is that I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with, I have to get through it anyway, even if it is the vaccine or if it's not. Like, I still have to figure it out and get through it. But I kind of regret taking the vaccine because I never had these symptoms until after the vaccine. And if I didn't take the vaccine, I could at least know that it wasn't that. But I can't be sure. But if I had to guess, I think it does have something to do with the vaccine, because it's the only variable. And I guess the coincidence that something else would come up 2 weeks after I got the vaccine seems more unlikely to me. But to some degree, it is a guess because I can't prove anything. However, and you know how Google is. If you look for something on Google, you'll find it, whatever you type in, you know. You could probably Google like COVID vaccine turning people into Nazis or something, and something would come up, and then you'd be like, oh, look, I found something on Google. But here's one forum page, drugdiscoverytrends.com, and I'm not necessarily sure if this is like a super credible source necessarily, but the picture I'm getting here is that these are people that are reporting side effects or symptoms post-vaccine. And I think a lot of these people can't prove that it's a vaccine, and a lot of them stand by that. But a lot of these people are saying that, you know, I've never had any pre-existing conditions and I've never had any symptoms like this until after my vaccine. And a lot of people are saying it's a day or two after, or maybe a couple of weeks after. And some say that it went away after a few days. Some people are saying that they've been dealing with dizziness for like 50 plus days or so, and it's still not going away. Some may be saying that it hasn't gotten better, and some saying that it has gotten better but hasn't totally gone away. And people here are also complaining about tinnitus, which is, you know, a lot of these things that I'm seeing are just inner ear related in some way. A couple people are saying that they did have a pre-existing condition, but ever since the vaccine it just got so much worse. And again, other people are saying that they have no history of anything like the symptoms they're having afterwards. So, you know, some of these people might have something else going on. Some of these people might be reacting to the vaccine, which again, I may or may not be reacting to the vaccine. So I just feel like I have to keep stressing that, because I can't guarantee that this is the vaccine or not, but neither can the doctors. And I get mixed opinions depending on the doctors that I ask. So I think the reality is that it's kind of a mystery. But I am also dealing with it. And I'll say that things have gotten better. It's been about maybe 2.5 weeks now, and in the beginning I was dealing with like shortness of breath. I just felt like I could not breathe enough, and I probably had some anxiety or panic attacks too. because the symptoms I was dealing with were very concerning, and for a while I just had no idea if I was okay, if I was having serious issues that were going to like lead to heart attack or stroke or some kind of death or passing out, fainting, you know. I just didn't know because those feelings were new and debilitating and scary. And you know, if some of what I dealt with was anxiety related, I'm completely unsurprised by that. But I've never had anxiety get to a point where it was physically overwhelming. So that was all new to me. But I think what I'm really dealing with here is probably a mix of things, some of which is anxiety related and some of which is weird reactions to the vaccine. And I guess it makes sense that your body would have a inflammatory response that may or may not have something to do with your inner ear in some people. So I'm just scrolling through certain things. I'll read this one. I haven't read this yet. After the first shot of Moderna, I had headaches, and 5 days after I start hearing noise in the right ear, then realized it could be linked. Today after hearing test, wow, recently lost 20 decibels on the right ear with a strong degradation of the clarity. They gave me steroid. So yeah. A lot of stories are kind of like that. These are long, and I can't really read all of these. You guys are welcome to pause the video, of course, or go to the website yourself. But a lot of people say things along these lines, and it kind of reinforces my my idea that it could be related to the vaccine. So yeah, here's another one of a guy that did have tinnitus, mild tinnitus, and then that evening his tinnitus volume shot up considerably. God, my words are a little slurry. I've had a little bit of just cloudiness ever since my symptoms as well, so I'm not quite as sharp as I'd like to be, but it's gotten better. So yeah, here's the thing, you know. Is it just a coincidence? Because there's a lot of cases here, and a lot of people just say that, oh, it's a coincidence, it's a coincidence. But how often is it a coincidence that just almost immediately after and never before that these symptoms are popping up? And then on top of that, people, I mean, everybody knows that to some degree the vaccine isn't fully tested or understood. How come people can't consider that, you know, that is a possibility, that it might be the vaccine? I'm just a little bit tired of people saying it's absolutely impossible, there's no way that's the vaccine, when, you know, there's so many examples of people that are reacting in a consistent way only after the vaccine, many of which, or maybe the majority of which, have never had any pre-existing symptoms that are related. Yeah, after the second shot of Pfizer, my tinnitus is louder. I developed tinnitus after the first Pfizer shot. These are just random people. Got my second Pfizer shot yesterday morning. Within an hour, noticed what felt like mildly clogged ears and a slight ringing. Woke up the next morning with what felt like a fully clogged left ear with some ringing. I do sleep on my left side. And you know, sometimes maybe people just randomly get like an ear infection or something. And you know, I'm not saying every example here is an example of what I'm talking about, but I'm just saying that there are a lot of examples, and you'd think with enough of them that you would consider maybe that it could be that. This is another forum I went on, and this one is more tinnitus focused, this drugdiscoverytrends.org thing, but this vestibular.org, which I actually kind of signed up for because I needed to start talking to people and asking for answers and see what other people's situations are. So I got involved on this forum somewhere around like page 180 or something like that. So I mean, I don't know how many comments are posting on each page, maybe like 20 or 25 or so. And now it's at 249 of people talking about COVID vaccine side effects regarding dizziness. And so you have maybe 20, 25 comments per page, and now 250 pages almost. So a lot of people are saying stuff like this. So this guy did have a pre-existing vestibular issue, but his symptoms flared up a lot since his COVID vaccine. I'll just scroll through a couple more. I've had the same experience. About 8 days after the first dose of Moderna, I started getting a mild vertigo feeling. I've also had 2 brief episodes of room spinning dizziness as well. 7 days now and not better. I'm scheduled for a second dose in 2 weeks and I'm very apprehensive. So, I mean, I could just keep scrolling and keep finding more similar things. Started feeling dizzy on day 4 after the vaccine. Had my second shot 3 weeks ago, having a lot of dizziness this week. So it seems to be getting worse, drinking lots of water, hoping it goes away. So, I mean, just again, tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff of people saying the same kind of thing. And other people are more serious. And I had nights where I couldn't breathe very well. And maybe that was anxiety. Maybe that was just symptoms that my body worked out eventually. But yeah, it's hard to say. And my whole reason for posting this video is so that that you're aware of this, that there are forums out there that are saying that that other people are going through what I'm going through in their own way, with variations on the symptoms that they're dealing with. I haven't had any hearing loss or tinnitus, but I've had extreme dizziness and difficulty breathing certain days, again, which might come from anxiety or whatever, but maybe not. And I had my heart monitored, I had my blood tested, and I had other stuff done, and everything's fine. Everything's turned out to be fine. And now my doctor thinks that I'm just dealing with vertigo. I just kept switching doctors because a lot of them just weren't helpful, and some were too slow to respond to things, and I needed to figure out answers a little more quickly. But the last doctor I saw thinks that at this point maybe I'm just dealing with vertigo, and he personally thinks that it's not the vaccine. But again, a lot of doctors have said that it could be, and then you got the forum stuff as well. So. But back to what I was saying, my point with this video is to let you know that I am doing better. I'm not fully recovered yet. I'm able to sleep at night really without any issue. My sleep schedule's still messed up, but that's not necessarily related to my symptoms. That's just related to not being able to sleep earlier on, and then a sleep schedule that just kind of progressed into something sort of ridiculous. But that's sort of my lifestyle anyway. So right now I wouldn't say that the side effects or whatever I'm dealing with has anything to do with my sleep schedule, but I'm still hesitant to drive, and I would say that my symptoms of dizziness have maybe gotten about 70-80% better in the last 3 or 4 days. So I had about 2 weeks where I just felt kind of dizzy or pretty dizzy, like all the time. And I was also dealing with shortness of breath and difficulty sleeping as well. So that was much more difficult, much more stressful. I was way more concerned for my health and well-being in those days. But recently, I'm just dealing with a little bit of dizziness and hesitation to drive, but otherwise living a pretty normal life and feeling better on a day-to-day basis. I'm not as worried about my health. I'd be really upset if my symptoms flare up again, and I certainly hope they don't. And I'm just trying to eat well and kind of take things easy, but not also do nothing at the same time. As far as me getting my second shot goes, I'm not sure if I'm going to, because again, I still personally feel like that the side effects I went through, I keep saying side effects, I mean symptoms, that the symptoms I'm having could be related to the vaccine. And there's also quite a few people on these forums that say they had mild symptoms from their first shot and then they sort of dissipated, and then when they got the second shot they had the same symptoms, but they were way more extreme, regarding dizziness and whatnot. So I don't really want to put myself in a position where I can't drive for a few weeks, or maybe I'm driving and then I feel like I'm almost going to pass out again, because that just seems so dangerous. And to go another, however long I have to go without being really able to drive or being able to sleep or feeling dizzy all the time, I can't do that. I can't go through that. And if that's just a thing that you're supposed to go through every 6 months or something like that, I mean, that's a lot to ask, and everybody says that the second shot is worse than the first shot. So I just really can't imagine going through what I went through in any worse capacity than I already have. And I just want to get through this and get better. And I don't want to risk having these symptoms again. And that's one of the reasons I really wish that I had a clear answer as to if it was the vaccine or not. But that's just impossible to get. But I am suspicious that it might be, and it could be related to some kind of inner ear inflammatory response, which some people seem to be having. But again, it's hard to say. There's nothing definitive here. There's nothing officially reporting dizziness as a side effect. But there are a lot of forums correlating these symptoms to come up with no previous history, only after the vaccine. So that's something that I think is being looked into. There's more and more reports of that kind of thing coming up, and it seems like maybe more and more official things sort of, talking about stuff like that. But I guess we'll see. I suppose the other thing I want to say with this video is that it's obviously not like an anti-vax video. I'm just saying that I think I'm having uncommon and unfortunate side effects. If it is related to the vaccine, and with all the pressure out there to get a vaccine or to not get a vaccine, I think that you should really just decide for yourself. I think most people are fine and they just have like the predictable expectations in terms of, how they respond to the vaccine. Like most people are fine. Most people get the vaccine and everything's fine. They go through some uncomfortable side effects or whatever, but only the expected ones, and sometimes not even that. But in my case, yeah, in my case, much worse. So get it if you want to, and don't get it if you don't want to. I don't really know what else to say. I understand the arguments for getting it, and I understand the arguments for not getting it, and they both make sense. It's really just a matter of what you believe in. But if you're to ask me personally, again, I can only say that you should do what you think you should do. I'm not going to tell you that you should or shouldn't get the vaccine, because I understand both sides of the argument, and I'm probably not going to be getting my second one, at least not anytime soon. And the reality is that everybody knows that the vaccine is relatively untested compared to other vaccines. There's actually a really good video that I should probably link you guys on. Check the links in the description. It's a video on how mRNA vaccines work and the history with it. So that's a good informative video on how it works and how long it's been a part of our history, and kind of like how things synced up for the mRNA vaccines to be allowed and timed well for the COVID vaccine. So if you want to maybe educate yourself a little bit more on that specifically, I will link you guys in the video description. But that's my update for now. I seem to be getting better, and I'm thankful, and I have somewhat of a better understanding on how my side effects may or may not be related to the vaccine, but at the end of the day, I can't really prove it either way. So it is what it is, and I'm just trying to get better, and I'm trying to stay positive and eat well and all that stuff, and fix my sleep schedule, because that's probably just something I need to get back in order. And yeah, that's really all I have to say for now. My last video got a lot of, pretty 50-50 response, but that's kind of expected anytime you're saying anything about COVID and whatever. I got one guy commenting about how I'm both sidesing a serious issue, and everyone that decides not to get a vaccine based on my video, I'm responsible for the deaths of people that don't get a vaccine or whatever like that. And I think that's such a ridiculous comment, because what if the vaccine ended up having really bad long-term effects? Then are you responsible for the pressure that you put on people to get the vaccine? Because that's kind of what I'm saying, is you have to be responsible for your own decision. Whatever happens, you have to own your decision. You can't just blame other people for whatever pressure in either direction. But I think it's actually good, if we're going to talk about the survival of humanity here, I think it's good that some people are getting the vaccine and some people aren't, because if things go poorly with the vaccine, then it's good that we had a crowd of people that didn't get the vaccine. And if things go terribly for people that didn't get the vaccine, then it's good that people did get the vaccine. So that's something to be thankful for. If you want to look at the bright side of, things being socially, politically divided on something like this, we have people that didn't take it. So at the end of the day, humanity should continue if things go really poorly one way or the other. Yeah. And I guess I'm in between, because I got one shot and I might not get the other one, but we'll see. So yeah, kind of a long video. And this is sort of my first time articulating it, and hopefully it made sense to you. I'll leave links to the forums that I brought up in here, and a link to that mRNA vaccine video if you want to learn more about that, because that was kind of insightful and helpful for me too. All right, well, I'll leave it at that for now. If you guys want to subscribe and stay tuned for other future content, I might do like a third upload video on this. I'll respond to the comments in the comments section, and I do other content that has nothing to do with this. This is just some side stuff that I thought I would talk about. This channel's still sort of formulating what kind of channel it's becoming, but the gist of it is that I'm talking about stuff. So, yeah, if you're into that and you like my voice, I suppose I'll see you in a future video. All right, well, until then, hopefully it was helpful for you, and yeah, stay safe out there.